Jacques Derrida was one of the most famous and probably controversial French philosophers known for his deconstruction philosophy. He primarily deconstructed or dismantled any idea into simpler parts to understand its true meaning that might be buried in its assumptions and contradictions. He uses a similar approach to define the philosophies of hospitality and explains how its origin itself gets infested by its opposite, hostility, thereby harboring as a self-contradiction. Derrida further classifies hospitality into two categories, conditional and unconditional. He claims that it is acceptable to not strongly believe in either conditional or unconditional hospitality, but it is rather important to understand its difference for the better understanding of hospitality itself. Taking the example of a door, he says that for there to be hospitality, there must be a door. If there is no door, there is no longer hospitality, there is no hospitable house, and there is no house without doors and windows. As soon as there are doors and windows, there is someone with a key to them, and consequently they control the conditions of hospitality. The immigrant's journey starts with a suitcase full of memories that they carry with them as they leave their home country, the contents of which define their identity. They bring with them their culture, food, and practices, all confined in a suitcase. If the suitcase is a metaphor for the guest's identity, does the door to the house then define the host's identity? The permeability of some national borders across the world and the complete impermeability of the rebellious others have heightened concerns about security and identity, especially about the stranger, whether alien, immigrant, or guest entering this border. Discriminations based on gender, caste, race, nationality start coming into play when determining this interaction between the guest and the host. In our era of terrorist threat and economic pressures, we struggle to find the right ways to cope with the entitlement of people who are not citizens. We struggle to design that door of hospitality. Can an ethnic neighborhood in Chicago host this door of hospitality? Devon Avenue or Little India in Chicago is a street dominated by South Asian immigrants who come to the neighborhood to find a home away from home. From mouth-watering delicacies to colorfully diverse attires, there is nothing one cannot find on Devon Avenue that will not take them back to their South Asian roots. The ethnoscape outside continues to exist as a crucial fragment of the interior spaces as well, that represent a continuous overlap of cultures. Blending aromas of international cuisines set the perfect ground to interact with people from varied cultures. While a peculiar language is spotted outside, a sign language developed by the street signage outside the shops. Although marketed as the International Shopping District by the local Chamber of Commerce, this business strip saw a decline in its number of buyers as other similar ethnic stores started opening up in the outskirts of Chicago, which led to efforts in transforming it into a tourist site with the tagline, "Travel the World in Chicago." Stripping away the decorations of the street, from signs to aromas and from flags to merchandise, the buildings become a neutral canvas in this vibrant neighborhood and present a unique opportunity. Amongst the assortment of immigrants on Devon Avenue, can the architecture of the street form a new identity by hosting another type of immigrant? 4 architectural interventions are proposed on the street that form these new immigrants. These architectural immigrants have some Derridian conditions applied to them, but also present ways to overcome these conditions, thereby becoming a symbol for the freedom of thought, which helps shape a more liberating society. Like an encroaching landscape, this immigrant intrudes onto the walls of an existing building while allowing the existing spaces to spill out under the shadow of the new structure. It comes with the challenge of accepting the intrusion and sharing resources, as well as with the opportunity of gaining revenue due to the addition of a new program. Can both spaces coexist unconditionally? The new program proposed is that of a library learning space along with an outdoor theater. Both functions act as an institution to disseminate knowledge and serve as a meeting point for people and ideas. The existing building that is taken over is a restaurant, the business of which is likely to increase by this addition. The restaurant spills over to the outdoor addition. The addition is planned to strengthen the connection with the street. A bus stop is integrated with the southern facade that also offers a view into the facility. A gallery space viewed from outside and accessed from inside further helps in the distribution of revolutionary ideas. The compact library has rotating seats that form small group discussion enclaves both within the facility and on the street. The existing restaurant is refurbished while retaining the existing structure, and the exterior wall is punctured to connect with the new outdoor space. The punctured wall is installed with a drop-down screen for movie screenings during the evening. The books in the library can be accessed using a digital card, and the theater is used for various community activities during the day. This immigrant acts as a social stage for like-minded people to voice their opinions and share their ideas with each other as well as the city. The bridging immigrant connects the rest of the immigrants, both places and people, with each other to form a new urban fabric designed to attract all age groups and intended to allow each user to claim their place in the city. This urban intervention starts as a park and then expands in the form of street art and small social interaction spaces introduced at multiple places across the street. The park consists of a skate park, a half basketball court, and a semi-enclosed sandpit for children. A modular street bench is introduced that can be reconfigured based on the needs of the user, giving them a sense of ownership of the street. This urban fabric is intended to bridge the gap between people and challenges the user to share their space in the city with each other. Suspended in air, this immigrant creates a void space intended to take the user away from the realities of the current world and becomes a medium for self-reflection. Installed on the roof of an existing building, the immigrant tries to create a contrast between solid and void spaces. A metal framework holds these solid spaces, designed to cut the user's interaction with the street. The metal framework represents the heterogeneous nature of the street, aspiring to be a pluralist society, while the solid space represents the individual character of the inhabitants. The framework is the cluttered condition the user needs to overcome to reach tranquility. Can a self-reflecting moment make the user question their identity? Floating on the diffusive territories of water, this immigrant exhibits ambiguous boundaries that can be changed based on its use. This self-regulating immigrant gives the user the opportunity to control the space as well as questions the amount of control. Should it always be hospitable to all? If not, when should it be closed and to what extent? A series of open and closed pavilions are proposed to celebrate the plethora of religious beliefs present on the street and can be used throughout the year as market and gathering spaces to celebrate communal festivals. The pavilions are placed on a water feature, the level of which can be increased or decreased based on the decision of the user, thereby applying a condition to the circulation of the visitors. If multiple events need to take place together, the water boundaries of the pavilions can be changed to control the crowd. The closed pavilions consist of two configurations of market stalls designed for local businesses to rent and sell their products. The open pavilions are shaded by tensile structures that slope towards the water feature and can be lit up using colored lights. While the water feature adds a condition to the space, the tensile structure, on the other hand, represents the unconditional number of possibilities that the city can explore. Architecture is politics with brick and mortar. It is certain that there has been an association between politics and architecture in most nations across the world, where architecture often becomes a symbol for a particular city or nation. These architectural symbols are not restricted to just creating a national identity, but also extend into the creation of a communal identity for the residents of the country. The architectural immigrants in Devon Avenue try to create this identity for Chicago, where it can potentially become the door of hospitality and be called the Immigrant City, a city that has a long history of accepting foreigners and continues to do so. If architecture emerges from the current political circumstances and helps represent social identities and events, it will impact our understanding of the social world. It is this impact that the immigrants try to make through the Immigrant City.